On this week's episode, locally filmed Boston Strangler is now streaming. Will the new Flash movie be the greatest superhero movie ever made? Maybe. What are the worst movie tropes? And Pedro Pascal and Oscar Isaac have in fact starred in a movie together, but is it good? For The Hub on Hollywood, I'm James.
I'm Jamie. How could it not be good? Come on! We love them. And we love you. Let's go.
Let's go. All right, Jamie, it's good to be back. We haven't had an episode in a couple of weeks. We were on hiatus, but we have a jam-packed episode with a lot of great stuff to dive into, to dissect, and to review. And let's talk about Boston Strangler that's now streaming on Hulu, getting some initial reviews rolling in right now, but this is one that the Boston area has been really looking forward to just because of the local history.
Absolutely. So we're so excited. Obviously, this was a very dramatic and traumatic story from the 1960s back in Boston. 11 women who were the victims here. But the story with Keira Knightley portrays how the story came to light. In a very patriarchal society, these women were sort of being ignored, and it was this intrepid reporter who connected the dots and helped to bring this serial strangler to justice, who is preying on unsuspecting women in Boston. Not only is this a very serious subject, but a very exciting one for the people who were able to be a part of this project. Tons of local talent involved. CP Casting was casting on this. They were able to put more than 60 principal actors into this film, which is incredible. Most of those being local talent and countless background. We just wanted to give a shout out to some of those folks, including Nicole Johan Rand, who got to portray one of the editors in the newsroom with Keira Knightley, Bill Mutus, Jury Love, Sam Zillick, who are friends of the show, and so many more. It's very exciting for them. And if you listen to the Hub on Hollywood, we brought you those casting calls at that time. So lots of people proud and excited for this story. That's both, important and a great, contribution to our local art, our local filmmaking here in New England. 63% on Rotten Tomatoes right now are the initial reviews that are coming in. 79% audience score, though, on that one for Boston Strangler, which is available now on Hulu. I think that people need to go watch this right away, and we'll have a full review of the Boston Strangler next week. So join us back for that. Until then, we don't want to spoil anything for you, although history might spoil some things for you.
Jamie, we are forgetting one big shout out to one great local talent that also participated, who was also in this film, you.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's right. I did get to spend a day on, 2 or 3 days on Boston Strangler. I was hired as a dancer. People don't know that I dance. I sing. But I was hired as a dancer. Yeah, where we were in this South Boston bar dancing with Keira and the other stars of this film. Unfortunately, I'm deep in the back, so you don't really see me. But the night that we filmed this, James, it was freezing. It was so cold. It was like 20 degrees that night, and we spent all night there. And we had the background folks, myself included, we had about 4 or 5 costume changes that night. Wow. And our tents where we were changing were outdoors. It's not like we even got to be inside.
When was this? Around what time?
Oh gosh, don't ask me. I believe it was November or December, but I have to fact check on that because I don't, I don't remember time that well. But it was so cold. I'm just proud of myself for surviving that changing tent, honestly. And super cute pictures I got to take of myself in those outfits and with the different hairstyles of the 1960s, which is always like the most fun part about doing a period piece like that. So I might share a few of those on Instagram if you're interested in seeing Jamie dressed up in 1960s Boston Strangler. But the only thing I'm disappointed about, James, is that I didn't get to be a dead body. That's what I was really rooting for. But the majority of these victims were in their 60s, 70s, 80s, like they were older. So I get it, I guess. But,
I can totally see you as a dead body. I can totally see that, but in the best possible way.
Right, in the best possible, which is this is the only context in which that is an appropriate statement, in this industry. So thank you. I appreciate that.
You know what else is also cool is that even though this is streaming on Hulu now, you can check it out. They actually did hold a screening in an actual movie theater for people to go see it and have the theatrical experience, right?
That's right. So a lot of the folks that were involved with the filming, some of the principals, got to have their own exclusive screening at the Boston AMC on Tremont Street, and afterwards they had a Q&A with the director, so it was a really great way to celebrate everything that New England and Boston contributed to the film, so I'm really glad that they were able to do that for the talent here. And if you were in the film, we're reaching out to folks because we know who you are. We want to get you on the Hub on Hollywood, talk about your experience on the set, and with the director, talking with him at the AMC event, so hopefully we'll be able to bring one of those to you in next week's Hub on Hollywood. And
absolutely, yeah.
Of course, as I mentioned before, we helped people get cast in this film by bringing those casting calls to you. There's a number of other really big productions that are getting underway right now as we approach the spring. It is going to be a spring awakening of all of these TV shows and movies and opportunities for folks. So we will have casting calls at the end of this episode for anyone who's looking to get in the movies right now.
Love it. Love it. Now, speaking about celebrities we love, and whether you love their personal life or their acting chops, one thing that you cannot take away is Tom Cruise's ability to make a great movie and apparently review a movie that he says that he thinks is pretty great, and that's the new Flash movie. Of course, the Flash movie has been marred with controversy because their main actor, Ezra Miller, has gone on a weird roller coaster of events and including law enforcement interactions, whether he was arrested in Hawaii for allegedly assaulting people, to ties with we won't get too into it, but he's a very controversial figure right now. And for the longest time, we were unsure that the movie The Flash was going to be released at all because of the controversy. But the movie studios, they pushed ahead, and this movie is coming out. This is starring Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck. But Tom, he apparently got to watch an early screening at his home theater, and who can do that but Tom Cruise? He called the director, asked to see it, and he was like, "Yeah, let me send you a copy that you can watch at home." And so apparently, right after watching the movie, he called the director and said, "The Flash is everything you want in a movie, and that this is the kind of movie that we need right now." So Tom Cruise apparently on board for the Flash movie. Also, James Gunn is apparently a big fan, of course, director of the Suicide Squad and who is overtaking the DC universe now. He says that it's one of the greatest superhero movies ever made, and that's a big claim to make. So I wasn't quite sure if I was going to watch this because of the controversy. Maybe I'll wait till it comes out on streaming, but a lot of people are excited because, like I said, Michael Keaton is coming back reprising his role as Batman, as well as Ben Affleck. So it's interesting to see, will people now go watch it with the endorsement of Tom Cruise and James Gunn?
That's interesting. Well, there are a lot of we know about cancel culture and things like that. And one of those folks who's also sort of been on that track is Casey Affleck, right? He's been a controversial figure, and people have been trying to get him to trying to end his career, essentially, but he's still going, and also filming another big movie for Apple TV Plus in our area right now in Massachusetts, New England, starring alongside Matt Damon in something called The Instigators. So, I mean, when someone has those kinds of struggles in their career, in their personal life, it's not necessarily indicative that, things are coming to an end. I can see how, you might want to support your actor friends. In those
and saying struggles is the nicest way of describing some of these situations.
Yeah, exactly. But it depends on what they did, okay? But do you agree with Tom Cruise that this could be the best superhero movie? Because I'm not buying that, not for a second.
Yeah, it's hard to buy. I know the DC universe and the handlers of this franchise and universe they're building, they've been all over the place. And Aquaman, starring Jason Momoa, is getting the early screenings, and the early test audience reviews have been terrible. A lot of people saying this is the worst movie in the DC universe, which is saying something because the DC universe has produced some pretty bad movies. So do I trust Tom Cruise with my life? Maybe not. When it comes to movies, maybe I would give him that. At the very least. And James Gunn, he's a big comic book guy. He's a big movie guy, of course, and he's done and made really great movies like the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, like the new Suicide Squad movie. And so I think he is somebody who is honest and wouldn't blow smoke up people's, behinds. So I'll be open-minded to it. Like I said, really looking forward to Michael Keaton in it. It's going to be great to see what they do with his character, see him don the cape, become the caped crusader once again.
Exactly.
But let us know what you think about the new Flash movie. 1, are you going to watch it? 2, what are you going to think if this is the best movie? Because the best DC's or best superhero movie, this is supposed to be resetting the DC universe and correct all the mishaps and missteps that have been taken so far. But yeah, leave us a comment down below. At Hub on Hollywood. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok at Hub on Hollywood. If you are watching us on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And if you are listening to us on any of the major podcasting streaming services, please leave us a 5-star review. Really does help out. But ending on some good news is the news that Sam Neill of Jurassic Park fame, he, of course, was in the original Jurassic Park. He reprised his role with Jeff Goldblum and Laura Dern in the Jurassic World Dominion. He was recently interviewed because he has a memoir coming out soon. And he says last year he was diagnosed with stage 3 blood cancer. When I first heard that headline, my blood dropped because that sounds terrible. He says that he was experiencing symptoms during the publicity tour for Jurassic World, and then he was undergoing chemotherapy treatment at the time. The good news is, however, his doctors say that he is cancer-free and he is back to work. And so, Sam Neill, an amazing actor. He's in some of my most favorite and most memorable movies ever made. Of course, that being 1, Jurassic Park, and then 2, also Event Horizon, one of the scariest movies I've ever seen, and a movie that I should not have seen when I was like 5 years old in the movie theaters because it was terrifying. But great news to hear that Sam Neill is on the road to recovery. He, again, cancer-free and back to work. But yeah, any thoughts on that, Jamie?
No, just very glad that he's doing that he's doing better, and we get to keep him a little bit longer. And him and Jeff Goldblum and Laura Dern are welcome here on the Hub on Hollywood anytime.
The invite has been sent.
Yes.
It's up to you to answer the call. Well, let's talk about, Jurassic Park is an amazing movie. Excellent storytelling, excellent CGI. Jurassic World Dominion, not so much. A lot of cliches, a lot of terrible tropes. And so let's talk about the worst movie and TV tropes that exist out there right now. There was a Reddit post, a Reddit thread talking about people pointing out the thing that usually happens in movies and sucks them right out, just takes the air out of the room. And we'll go right down the list with some of these. First one is always, the problem or the situation that can be fixed right away with just a conversation or just a phone call. You ever see those movies where there's like a big misunderstanding and instead of like waiting a minute the person
talking
is
it out.
appalled, horrified, and just leaves. And they're like, no matter what you say, no, we're done. It's over. I'm out of here. Like, no, wait, I can easily explain it. They're like, no, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute. That's a trope that happens so many times where just a simple conversation or a simple phone call would fix everything. But that happens time and time again. Somebody brought up, like, you see this a lot in old Ben Stiller and Vince Vaughn comedies, where if they just took a couple seconds to talk and communicate, then, everything would be fixed and there'd be zero conflict. That's one trope that people are just fed up with.
Oh, so I've got one, James, and this is something that we noted not too long ago. Bad geography. So in The Last of Us, as many people know, set in Boston in the beginning, they were leaving the Boston QZ. And we, I kind of went on my rant, when they're going towards the State House and like there's this shot of like this big wide avenue and tall buildings and the State House in the distance. That doesn't exist. You ever been there? It's all small little cow trail roads, that were literally that's how Boston was created. They were cow paths, and then they paved them over, and they're narrow and they're small. There's nothing that looks like that would give you that view of the State House. Nitpick. But also in the following episode, they're like 10 miles outside of Boston, and they were in the Canadian Rockies, right? You know what's 10 miles outside of Boston? Dunkin' Donuts, okay? And urban sprawl and no freaking mountains. So that was just ridiculous. The people that were here were like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm 10 miles outside of Boston. This is, me at my donkeys.
The thing is, though, for those, the one reason why that works is it works for those who are not from the area.
Yeah.
So the locals go crazy and they go nuts about it. Everyone else, everywhere else, they're like, okay, that's okay. There's a part where I watch the show Psych a lot, and it's based in California, but they filmed it in like Alberta, Canada. And there are people that in the comments saying, oh yeah, Sean's the main character's office is here, and then they run to another building, down the street, but is actually on the other side of town, and that happens a lot too.
Yeah.
Another trope that happens a lot is when there's like, for example, like a heist movie, heist where the characters are going in and they're in the thick of it, and the leader is telling them and describing the plan as the mission is underway. Like, well, hold on, like, why are we describing things right now? This should have been talked about beforehand. Like, okay, there's gonna be a tripwire, or this person's gonna pass by this, wait 10 seconds, or do this. Like, everything's explained as the mission is ongoing, where in reality, you'd have to tell everybody why we're doing this, where are we going, what's this for, who's this, who's that. Instead, in the movie, in many movies and TV shows, they're like explaining things as it's going on. Like, this would have been valuable information yesterday.
Exactly.
Kind of a thing.
No, and on that same vein, there's a lot of like, you appear in a situation and like, you're kind of taken at this moment, and then you're like, what's going on? And the other person says, there's no time to explain. There is time, okay? There's time to give a 1 or 2 sentence explanation as to what is happening. Like, that happens so frequently. I'm like, yes, there is. Yes, there is. Just tell him. And that would avoid so much, conflict in the story, and it's just silly. So one other cliche, and I wonder, not necessarily a cliche, but something that is not accurate. There is a show, NCIS Miami. Perhaps you have watched it. Very, very popular. It's been going on for a lot of years. However, it is not. It's shot in Los Angeles. Nothing looks like Miami. And more importantly, the people don't look like Miami. Okay? Everybody's white in that show. And then there's like 1 or 2 Latinos. It's like, no. Have you ever been to Miami? Okay. It would be the opposite. It would be, 98% Hispanic and then 1 or 2 white people. So, and the way that they portray Miami and the shots that they do, it's like, it's obviously California. Like, that is not what South Florida looks like. And that's not what the people look like. So the fact that they have a show set in a place and they don't even represent well, the massive Latino community that is there, that always hits a nerve with me. Like, if you're going to do something that's based in a specific location, do it right. Do your homework. Don't just, do it, and it's, that's my
Well,
Pet peeve.
And one thing that bugs me as much as that bugs you is when, say, there's a kind of like a John Wick kind of character who is able to infiltrate like a drug lord's base, and they just like go through like dozens of henchmen and bodyguards and kill them, shoot them, strangle them, everything, and then they finally get to the main boss. And then they get him down. They could kill him, but then they're like, I could kill you, but then that'll make me no better than you, or that'll make me stoop down to your level. Like, dude, you just killed like 20 people who have like families and friends and loved ones, but the main bad guy who's ordering them to do all these terrible, heinous things, you're like, I'm going to let you live because I'm not as bad as you. Like, what are you talking about? You killed 20 people. You could kill one more and end it. And then there's also the thing where they let the last guy, the main bad guy, go, and they're walking away. Then the bad guy pulls out a secret gun or something to try to kill them, and then that gives the main hero the excuse to finally kill them because it was self-defense. Like, dude, like that doesn't work for me too. That's annoying.
Yeah. No, absolutely. There are just so many cliches, and with as much money and effort that goes into these stories, like, you got to make sure you've got a good something that is well written to begin with, because I mean, you just rely so heavily on these cliches. It hurts. It hurts. I want a good story about people, about characters. Develop that. What would that character do? Not what should happen, in this kind of a story, but what is that story? Let the characters lead the story. I say that often, and so often I am disappointed. But there are so many cliches. One of my least favorites, too, one of the ones that gets me every single time, is prophecy. The prophecy states and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
That's just weak. That's lazy writing. Like, if you're gonna come up with something that's maybe sci-fi or fantasy or something like that, just leave the it's so freaking cliche and overdone, and just leave the prophecy out of it, please. Give me something. You can give me a hero's journey without a prophecy, please. I'm begging you.
That's funny. Yeah, another one is when there's somebody described, she's a busy business lady who only has time for business. He's a jackass womanizer. Will these two incompatible people find common ground, and will they fall in love after minor misunderstandings? Yeah, they do. And that's like every Hallmark movie. Every Hallmark movie where there's a busy businesswoman who has no time for friends or family, but has to go back to her small hometown, and then she realizes she misses her small hometown, and she doesn't like the hustle and bustle anymore, and then she falls in love with the old high school fling again, and he's a really nice, good old boy, and they fall in love again, and then she ditches her career to live in this small city. Again, every Hallmark movie. Or
this one, James, do you trust me? You've got to trust me. It's like, oh, God.
No, I don't trust you.
Yeah. It's like, it just happens too much. It just happens too much. But you're right. Yeah. And in the Hallmark movies, too, it's like, as soon as you see the characters introduced, right. Yeah. And it's always the prickly guy and the nice girl, or the prickly girl and the go-lucky guy. It's like, just give me something more interesting, please.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And this is the last one I'll mention, is when the main character is saved at the last second by, a random person who wasn't there 2 seconds ago.
Yeah.
No. He gets saved at the last minute. It's in every single movie.
They just swoop in out of the air.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I want artificial cliche tension and blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Well, let us know what your least favorite movie tropes are, your least favorite TV tropes are. Comment down below. Which movies are the most guilty for practicing some of these tropes that we just listed? Let us know down below in the comments. Now, talking about, again, some other cliche character personalities and some clunky dialogue. I remember last episode we were talking about how great Pedro Pascal is and how he is really great friends with Oscar Isaac, and how they should both be in a movie together, right? We were talking about that. We would love to see a movie with those two guys. Well, turns out there was a movie. It came out in 2019 on Netflix, Triple Frontier. I just recently learned about this and just watched it. And I'm not going to say it's a bad movie. It's an entertaining movie for what it's trying to be. But this just goes to show that we need more screen time with Oscar and Pedro. So basically, this is the story of Triple Frontier. Loyalties are tested when 5 friends and former Special Forces operatives reunite to take down a South American drug lord, unleashing a chain of unintended consequences. Directed by J.C. Chander, this stars Oscar Isaac, Pedro Pascal, Ben Affleck, and Charlie Hunnam. Didn't know this movie existed or these actors had worked together, but apparently they did. Not to give any spoilers away, because I do think, it's worth watching if you do like some heist and shoot 'em up movies. The action sequences are good. The story's pretty straightforward. We have Oscar Isaac. He's like the head. He's trying to get his former friends and former teammates back together for one last heist, one last job where they can infiltrate a drug lord's compound, steal the money, and leave undetected. But again, there are unintended consequences that happen. The action sequences are pretty good. I love the fact that a lot of the filming was done on location. The actors looked like they were really committed to their roles, dealing with the environments and the elements, so that was pretty cool. I will say, though, like I said, some of the characters are kind of cliche personalities. There's some clunky dialogue, but it's a fun shoot-'em-up movie. The runtime is 2 hours, 5 minutes long, though I feel like it could have been maybe 10 to 15 minutes shorter. But it's a Netflix movie. It's right there. I'd recommend watching it if you have nothing else to do. But again, it just makes me want to see another movie, another team up with Oscar and Pedro, kind of in the vein of The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talents, where you have Nick Cage and Pedro Pascal kind of like buddy and hanging out a lot, and for the majority of the movie's runtime. So I'd recommend that. And now this makes me long for another movie where those two pair up again.
Well, I think that Pedro can make it happen. He's having a moment. Everyone is in love with him, and he is the star of both The Mandalorian and The Last of Us right now. So I think if Pedro wants to make it happen, he can absolutely make it happen with Oscar. And we love them both and their friendship so very much. Speaking of Pedrito Lindo, besides the whole daddy thing, he loves it when people call him Pedrito. He says he loves it.
Does he?
So instead, Daddy's getting old, okay? Daddy and Zaddy and all of that.
Yeah, one thing that bugs me is that every interview that he does, everybody is asking him about that. So he gets asked that like in every red carpet, every other interview. Like, okay, we get it. Okay, it had its ride. It had its
dead horse now
process. Yeah, it's a dead horse now. So any other interviewer who asks him about being a daddy or zaddy, they should have their microphone taken away.
I would suggest you call him Pedrito Lindo, and that will make him happier and would be different than that. But speaking of him being a good daddy or a bad daddy, this is the very last of the dead horse, I promise.
There we go.
People. Critical of Mandalorian season 3 so far. People very happy about The Last of Us, which just had its finale. I wanted to pick your brain just a little bit on this because, the Last of Us finale was about a week ago that it came out, so I think it's safe for us to talk about now.
Yeah.
Were you surprised at how it ended? I had watched the video game, so I knew what was coming. What was your reaction to the finale and how they did it?
So heads up for everybody. Again, spoilers. We're getting into spoilers. The episode's been out for a week or so, but thought it was a very strong ending to the season. Very strong ending for the characters as well. We do follow Joel and Ellie. They do get to their destination, finding the Fireflies' home base. And then the twist for Joel is that, the goal is to get Ellie there because her blood is unique. She is immune to the infected, and they're trying to find a cure and save mankind. However, Joel finds out after waking up from a concussion grenade and also a gun butt to the head, he wakes up and he's told that in order for them to begin the scientific process of finding a cure, that they have to go into Ellie's brain and by doing that, kill Ellie for the betterment of mankind, for the hope that they can find a cure. Mm-hmm. And Joel obviously is not taking that news very well. And then we find him pretty much going on a rampage, on a one-man rampage through this hospital. looking for Ellie and going and mowing through anybody who gets in his way. And I thought it was very impressive, one, but also very tragic, because you just see Joel go into this kind of zone that he hasn't been in, and we haven't really seen him in yet, and going through anybody who's standing in his way, killing anybody who is a threat to him and Ellie, and eventually leaving the compound with her, basically killing his friend. I'm blanking on her name, but she's the leader of the Fireflies, and killing her because he's afraid that if she is kept alive, that she will continue to look for him and look for her, and she won't stop until that's done. And so he figures, I'm going to kill her, and we're going to, do our own thing now. And he lies to Ellie, saying that, they checked your blood, that other people that were like you there at the hospital, and their blood, it didn't work. There is no cure. So he pretty much lies to her to protect her, whether that was a good decision or not. That is what happens. And she even asks him at the end, everything you told me, because he lies to her. He says, it didn't work, and that's why we were allowed to leave, but there was like a raid was going on, and they killed everybody, and I was able to save you and rescue you. And then she asks him, everything you told me about what happened there, is that true? And he says, yes, that's true. And then whether she believes it or not, she accepts it. And then they move on from there. But this was a very impactful episode, just for the fact from the start, the opening scene, we find Ellie's mom. She's running through the forest, and she's 9 months pregnant, and you can hear a clicker in the distance chasing after her. And then she gets to this house, locks herself in a room, but then the clicker breaks through, starts fighting with her, wrestling with her, and Ellie's mom gets out a switchblade, the one that belongs to Ellie in current present day, and she kills the clicker, but not before realizing that she's been bitten. But during that struggle, she also realizes that she has given birth, and the baby Ellie is on the floor, and she quickly, with the switchblade, cuts the umbilical cord and prays that the infection has not gone from her to Ellie. And that's when the rest of her friends, they show up, they find her, and she pretty much says, this is Ellie, take care of her, make sure that you find somebody who will protect her and to kill me. And so her friend does that, but she does emphasize that. She lies to the friend saying, I was bitten after I gave birth, because she's afraid that they will kill Ellie if they suspect that she's been infected also. Which, wouldn't take long to figure out if she was infected or not. But she lies to her friend saying, this was after I gave birth, so she's not infected. So, protect her. And so that was really a very gut-wrenching and very impactful way to start the episode. And then we get, fast forward to Joel and Ellie. They're trying to bounce back from the previous episode, where you can still see Ellie suffering from PTSD, because in the last episode she had to kill this cult leader who was trying to assault her and eventually kill her, and then she ends up killing him in one of the most brutal murders, killings in the entire show. But then you see more back and forth between the two characters. They kind of get back on the same page, and you can kind of see Joel see the normal Ellie, the talkative, happy Ellie, come back after they have this interaction with a giraffe. They find that, there's a giraffe here, and it's a sign of hope that life goes on, and then there is hope for the future. But again, like I said, shortly after that, they get captured, and that leads to the events in the hospital. Very powerful episode, leaves me wanting more. But let me ask you this, Jamie. Now, I know you play the video game, or you know the ending from the video game. What do you think was the right decision? Did Joel make the right decision? Because here's the thing. You either let the Fireflies kill Ellie in the effort to find a cure to save mankind, or you kill them, save Ellie, and basically potentially doom mankind in this world of post-apocalyptic. I know you are a mother. What do you think? What would you have done in that situation?
Well, first, I just want to say that I am so glad that they put this story on the screen. It's such a worthy story to be retold exactly the way that it was done in the video game. It's so human. It's so raw. And I think that he absolutely did not make the right decision. And that's what makes it so great. He could have allowed her to die and save the whole world, but then she is his whole world. So by letting her die, he dies with her. Like, that would be destroying his world. And it's such a beautiful and tragic and intense full circle from him not letting Ellie in whatsoever, like just wanting nothing to do with her, through the journey that they've been through, him not wanting to let her into his heart until the very, very end, and when he got Ellie, when he was able to bring her back into his arms after she escaped and killed the cult leader, the cannibal, the cannibal pedophile. Yeah, that guy, which cannibal pedophile, hardcore, and the way that he comforted, exactly, the way that he comforted her and called her baby girl, which he hasn't said since his daughter. He's finally, opening his heart and accepting that, this child is mine now, and there's nothing that I won't do to protect her. And this is his second chance. Now that, he's opened his heart up to Ellie, this is his baby girl, everything that they've been through, all the trauma that they've been through, there is nothing on earth that will stop him from losing that child again. And that's what's just so tragic and beautiful about it, because he's doing everything in his power to not make that mistake again and not to lose her and to fight for her life, which is, a great parallel to what her mother did in the beginning of the episode, fighting to save her life. But by doing so, he damns the entire world, okay? And he is okay with his decision. He would rather damn the entire world to live in this apocalyptic hellscape for the rest of time than to lose his daughter again. And that is so intense and unique and, and just such a great story to put on the screen. And now he has to reckon with the consequences of that decision. And he's lying to Ellie. And how is that going to impact their relationship in the future? Because I fully believe that she would have wanted to die. She would have wanted to, to do the right thing and to be the person who cures, this apocalypse. And, I fully believe she would have wanted to sacrifice herself to that end. But, he was in such a headspace, in such a zone that, he was not going to let them take another child from him. So it's beautiful. Yeah. It's broken. It's messy. God, I loved it. So here's my other question. Here's my other question for you. I don't know if you've watched, the cutscenes from the video game, but they are almost shot for shot, word for word, like 90% exactly like the video game. Is this how adaptations should be, or is this not putting enough of your own spin on it? We do get new things. We do get a few new lines, a few new, one or two new scenes that I think add a lot to the story. I think it was just so, chef's kiss, well done. But I wanted to get your thoughts on that. Is it lazy, or is it how it should be?
No, I don't think it's lazy. I think if something is perfect and works already, then why change it? I listened to the Last of Us podcast after each and every episode, and the creators are on there, and the creators of the show and the creators of the video game are on there, and they kind of discussed what do you do in those situations. Also, do you copy word for word or beat by beat of the video game? Or do you take chances? And they have taken chances. They've shown things that were not included in the video game. But they also said, there are moments that are so important and are done so well that changing it would do it injustice, would be an injustice. And the fact that Pedro and Bella Ramsey are able to convey those emotions and those beats perfectly, if they are able to do it, then why not? For example, the scene where it shows Ellie's mom fighting off the infected and then giving birth, and that being the explanation, that's one thing that they would have loved to have included in the video game in hindsight. So there are things that, they wanted to do and wanted to include, but they couldn't, or, for whatever reason, or they thought about it after the fact and they thought, oh, that would have been great to include, but we just didn't have the time or idea at the time. And so you have the same creators behind the video game and the TV show working on this, saying, the things that we nailed it, and the things that we can expand on and improve on, we expanded and improved on it. What they're doing is excellent. Like, for example, the story of Bill and Frank. In the video game, it's completely different. In the video game, Bill talks about or mentions Frank being a partner, and now he's no longer here, and really Bill is the lone survivor. But they take a completely left turn where they show the dynamic and their
story. Yep.
Then those characters end differently than how they did in the video game, but it's so much more impactful in the TV show. And so I think they really have made the right decisions to leave things how they were when they were perfected, and to make things and expand on things where they can be. One thing I want to give a shout out to was the mom of Ellie in the opening scene is played by Ashley Johnson, and she is the voice actress for Ellie in the video game. And so she was on the last podcast episode, and it was talking about how it comes full circle, and the opportunity and the ability to come back and to kind of pass the baton from the old Ellie to the new one, the mother passing on her traits and character traits to her baby, to her daughter. Very beautiful, very done very well.
And the voice actor for Joel in the video game is also in the show. He's the when Allie's on the table and she puts the axe in the guy's neck when she's escaping from the cannibals, the person that she hacks and puts the axe in his neck, that was the voice actor for Joel. So it was very exciting to see them getting an opportunity to be a part of the television show as well.
Yeah, so I think they've done a fantastic job with the series. I have not played the video game. I want to, but I'm going to wait until the entire series, seasons 2, and I think they're going to make a season 3 for The Last of Us 2. So I'm going to wait.
There's a big question about season 2, okay? Because when it comes to the second, video game, people are a lot less supportive of that story. And there are a lot of people who are very angry or upset and really did not like the direction that the video game went in the second game. So I would be very interested to see if they stick with that, or if they decide to go in a completely new direction. So, I think that there's a chance that we could see a whole divergence in where the story goes in season 2. But that remains to be seen. So we will definitely keep an eye on that. We'll let you know when we know and all of that. But we can't get enough Pedro. Can't wait to see Pedro back in the next season of this. Season 3 of The Mandalorian not getting as much love. But I think there's still hope there. You were very angry. I think we can mention this very quickly. You were not happy.
Yeah. Yeah, not happy with the reunification of Grogu and Mando. I thought it would have been great to leave Grogu with Luke and put an end to that story, and then just follow Mando as he explores the universe or continues on his own personal journey. And then maybe what could have been a really good idea was to have them be kept separate for season 3, and then if you wanted to reunite them for season 4, then do it that way. But I just thought it's not very good storytelling, I think. And so if you had to reunite them, do it after season 3, go season 4, and then reunite them in that way, just so fans could get a both of so Baby Grogu had time to be with Luke, learn more with the Force, increase his own abilities, and then eventually decide, and maybe Mando comes back for XYZ reason, and then Baby Grogu with newfound knowledge and ability is like, okay, well, I'm going to go back to Dad because I've done my, some more training.
I would have liked to have seen Baby Grogu and Ben Solo interacting. So at the time that this is all happening, Ben Solo's 4 or 5 years old. Luke's setting up his academy. Having Grogu at the academy would have been a great way to see, what the dynamics were between Luke and his family, and Ben Solo, who becomes Kylo, and what were the warning signs there. I think that could have been an interesting thing to explore in that direction. The one benefit I see to having Grogu with Mando right now is that Mando he gives a lot more exposition because now he's teaching Grogu, and he's taking on that father role, and he's teaching him all of the things, and it allows for more exposition. But it also feels less like a Western, which was the original, kind of feeling behind it and theme, and more like a Disney movie now. It just feels like more kiddish and childish than the pure like Western feel that we got before that, and the more adult feel that we got before that. So we'll see how that goes. What do you guys think? What do you think about the direction that Mando season 3 is taking? What do you think about the season finale of The Last of Us? Is Pedro your daddy? Just let us know. These are the hard hitting questions that we ask here on the Hub on Hollywood. James.
Excellent.
We've had so much to talk about. And, for those who want to get in the movies, because that's what we do here on the Hub, we've got a ton of casting calls at the end of this episode for people to stick around and listen to, because there are a couple of big projects that are finally getting underway as spring is springing. We've hopefully had our final snowstorm here in New England. So folks definitely need to stick around for that. A lot of casting calls at the end of this episode on the Hub on Hollywood.
Awesome. Well, stick around for that, and thanks for joining us for another episode. Follow us at Hub on Hollywood, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, as well as YouTube and any of the major podcasting streaming services. But for the Hub on Hollywood, I'm James.
I'm Jamie. Bye.
Bye.
And here's the part of the Hub on Hollywood where we get you in the movies. As I mentioned before, lots of projects are filming right now, getting back underway, so it's a very good time if you want to spend time on set with some big names like Matt Damon, Casey Affleck, a bunch of others that are here now. Here we go. So starting with Slate Casting, they're looking for folks for a fun TV commercial. They are looking for deaf men and women. So deaf, hard of hearing men and women, ages 18 plus, pays very well for one day's work. If you're interested in being considered for an audition, email Slate realpeoplecasting@gmail.com with your full name, your location, current photo, and your phone and email. You must be local to New England.
All right, Boston Casting looking for real families, parents with children 1 year old, and also with a 0 to 3 month old baby for a photo shoot. Fittings will take place April 4th, shooting on April 6th in the Rockland area here in Massachusetts. Pays $1,500 for an adult, $1,000 for each child for this non-union gig. So if you have that family makeup, send your names, ages, photos, contact information, and where you're based to Boston Casting Submit 5, the number 5, Boston Casting Submit 5 at gmail.com.
Awesome. Also, with Boston Casting, they are the best casting agency in our region, and they are currently working on background for the 2 big movies that have started filming right now, including Matt Damon and Casey Affleck in The Instigators. This is a new film for Apple Studios. Basically, it's Damon and Affleck play thieves who go on the run with one of their therapists following a failed robbery. So it sounds like it could be pretty funny and dramatic. Boston Casting is also working on a project called The Perfect Couple, a Netflix series that is filming on the Cape. So if you are in southern Mass, Rhode Island, that's a really great opportunity for you to get the latest casting calls on these 2 projects. Go to bostoncasting.com, sign up for a free profile, and they will send you notifications for what they need, and you put in for, if it sounds like you put in for it. You get to spend the day on the sands of the Cape, or hanging out, or doing chase scenes. It sounds like The Instigators in particular is going to have some very exciting scenes that are going to be taking over parts of Boston in the coming weeks.
All right, Slate Casting, they're looking for someone to play Santa Claus. This is for a upcoming film project. They're looking for men who are 50 years old and older with acting experience. So if you can portray Santa and you have a real-life beard, send your name, location, photos of yourself, acting resume, and phone number and email to slateselftape@gmail.com.
Slate also looking for pregnant women for a TV commercial. So if you're interested in that, same deal. Slate Real People Casting at gmail.com with your full name, your location, current photo, phone number, and email, and how far along you are on the pregnancy. You must be visibly showing, just like a certain co-host's wife right now is visibly about to pop. So that would be for Slate Casting for that one.
All right, and Slate Casting also looking for hearing impaired and ASL individuals. This is for a TV commercial. They're looking for people who are hearing impaired and or speak in American Sign Language for this role. Men and women, anyone 18 years old and older. Pays $1,250 for the day if they are cast. So send your name, location, current photo, and your phone number to slaterealpeoplecasting@gmail.com.
All right. So many opportunities, many of the movies, TV shows, commercials. There's Boston Casting, Slate Casting, CP Casting, Kendall Cooper, Billy Dowd, so many opportunities here in New England. Tons of projects coming in the coming year in this 2023, especially now just getting started. So stick with the Hub on Hollywood. We encourage you to sign up for these casting agencies, but also to tune into us every week so that we can give you a heads up on the latest opportunities, whether you are looking for a career in this or just a fun day on set. We've got you, fam. So thank you for joining us here on the Hub on Hollywood, and we'll see you guys next week. Until then, I'm Jamie.
I'm James. Bye.
Adios.